Hello and welcome to another Beard Club video. This video is my build video for the March competition run by Joe from Encounter Terrain. It's a 10 by 10 competition, so the rules are that you can have a build area of no more than 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters, and he gives out the theme every month, and this month the theme is awesome. It is seems peaceful ... enough. So my creative juices have been flowing and I came up with two ideas. I'm only going to do one because I can't do the other one because I don't have any resin, because I used it all up on my Epic Lake and I still haven't ordered any more. Really need to do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to look down at the bench and see what materials I've got, and I'll explain my idea. So here we are. This is my starting materials. I have, the bowl is not. The bowl was the item to include for the opening photograph, because he asks you to prove you've not started by including a bowl, which is a good idea, or including an item that he only reveals at the beginning of the build. So what we've got is we've got my usual base, which I do use for this this competition. I'm going to use the 1 centimeter thick blue foam, maybe not this entire this piece, but I will do it. We have some toilet roll and we have some drawing pins. So seems peaceful enough, and I'm going to credit Angela again. She was the one that came up with this idea and I love it, so I'm going to do it. The idea I'm not going to do was basically quite a tall build, which I know Joe loves and does well in the competition, but whatever, it's also an awesome idea. And at the bottom of it have a monster, sea monster of some description, rising up towards, at the top, a couple fishing in a fishing boat. So it seems peaceful enough. They just sit there fishing, and coming up from below is a monster. There is a riff on that which I could do, which is a so like a little person camping, and then underneath burrowing upwards, kind of like a Tremors type model. And if this goes badly, I may fall back to that because that's quite an easy one. But I really like this idea that Angela had. So let's talk you through it. It is a beach scene. So these are going to be parasols. They'll be stuck in to the sand, and that'll be the like the beach umbrellas. People to be can be sunbathing underneath them, and so most of this of it will be or some of it will be a beach, and then the rest of it will be a seascape, which I'll do in basically the same way as I did the one for the. With the lighthouse, except I might do some bigger waves because I might have a surfer or two on the wave. So I might try and do a little bit of a righteous curl for someone to be grinding through. So yes, we'll see about that. But then I'm going to do a backdrop on this one. So I'm going to build a backdrop up with clouds. I might even do some like fluffy clouds coming off the backdrop. So that'll be a little bit of a stretch for me in terms of doing the art on that. But then at the top of the backdrop, there will be a missile coming in and about to land. Seems peaceful enough. So let's see how well that works out, and if I do fall back on the Tremors idea, we will see together. What I'm going to do is cut my base, start sketching it out, and I'll bring you along when I'm about to start building. As you can see, I've made a start. As is traditional, what I'm doing is I have blocked out my 10 by 10 square with masking tape on a larger sheet and clamp that to my board so that I don't have any warping or any problems, which works really, really well. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to work out roughly where things are going to go. I'm going to compose the diorama because I don't have a huge amount of space. This is one of the joys of this challenge, and so I can't just go bleh, there's all the sand, and bleh, there's all the sea, because well, there's just no space. The other thing you'll notice is where normally I would centre the diorama, this time I'm going to be having it with the back actually along the edge, and the reason for that is that I need to push in some wire and bring it up for the actual rocket to be attached to, and also for any clouds and what have you, because I am going to have a backdrop at the back here which will also be glued in and secured. So that's why that's that shape. So what I'm thinking of doing is a pretty traditional, maybe about a quarter of it will be the beach scene, So we'll have a little bit of a rise here. I might do that with foam, I might do that with modelling compound, probably modelling compound because it'll make it a bit easier. So this will be the beach. There we are. And then this is the sea. There we are. That was very simple, wasn't it? Nice, simple, simple plan. As I've said, I think I might try to do a little bit of a tube wave coming in, so there can be like someone surfing in it. That might be a really nice idea. Might be stretching my abilities beyond what I can do, but I might give it a go. And what I'm going to look at doing first of all is working out how I'm going to mount the backboard and the rocket to make it stable, because one of the issues is if you've got a single wire coming up, then it can very, very easily topple and become quite unstable or even go backwards, which I really don't want. So there's the start. I'm going to get some materials and I'll bring you along for the next step when I get to it. So I've been thinking about this. I'm a little bit behind. I normally like to put 20 minutes in a day to get this done in the 2 weeks and not feel stressed. But yeah, I've not really been able to work out exactly how I'm going to do it. And I've thought I'd bring you along just for a little bit of a chat around my thought process and what I think I'm going to do. I'm going to sleep on it and I will probably do the sticking and what have you tomorrow. So at the back of the diorama, I want to have the sky rising up and then, as I've said, a bomb kind of falling. And the first thing I've looked at is potentially using MDF. So I've measured out 10 centimetre width, and that's a 30 centimetre high section of MDF, which might work. I'm not sure. But then I noticed, and I've done a little bit of cutting with the Proxon, this. And what I probably should do is zoom out so you get an idea of just how big this is. So yeah, still not far enough out. Can I zoom out further? I can. Still not far enough. Anyway, let's move the base back. I don't know if it will fit underneath my shelf, but yeah, it's a big old bit. It's got a little bit more on top. It's actually got a little bit of a unevenness, which I actually quite liked as a bit of of interest. So what I thought I'd do, and I think this is what I'm going to go for, is I'm going to use this one, which as you see is very tall. There we are. That's all in shot now. Great. So we can continue with that. So yeah, so I'm going to glue, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this one on. I'm going to have the water here. I might make the beach a little bit smaller and I might change the scale, so I don't know whether the pins are going to be what I'll use for the parasols. And I'll have the water go in here and I can then have the water acting as a bit more of a support for the back. Now what I might also do is actually shave off a little bit at the back of this and actually have that glued to the back. So that might make it a little bit more stable as well. I can have the horizon going halfway up or a little way up, so maybe up to that little line there, I'm not sure. And then I can have clouds and what have you, and then right up the top here I can have a bomb appearing. So it'll be really, really looks peaceful. It'll be a way off before it's dropping. So yeah, I think I'm going to do that. I think what I'm going to do, as I say, is shave off the back so that this can actually slot down in. I might even try to be clever and do some kind of like shapes, but I'm not sure. I'll probably just cut it out and glue it on and be done with it, because with gator glue that'll be pretty strong. It will be a bit flimsy, it will be a bit floppy and wobbly, but I think it'll be okay. I think it'll look fine. These aren't playable pieces, they're dioramas. So yeah, I might put some wires, stick some wires to the back of it to try and keep it a little bit more rigid. One of the reasons why I thought about this is actually that's quite a nice kind of sky blue, so I might be able to get away with just using a sponge and sponging on some clouds and to do the background. So yeah, I think that might work. So I'm going to sleep on it though. That's my progress for this evening. I have spent quite a bit of time, not a huge amount of time, but a bit of time on that. Tomorrow I can get that stuck in place and then start doing the sculpting, and hopefully it will go relatively quickly from there. So there we are. There is progress, just not as much as I wanted. As I explained, what I've done is I've cut a little shelf out at the back of this, and the upright slots in there really, really nicely. So that will be able to be glued in when I've done the next step. And what I've decided that I'm going to do for the next step is actually work on the horizon and on the sky and what have you, and get the backdrop done first before I then look to actually attach it to the base and then build the base towards it. I think that's actually going to work better for me in what I'm trying to do, because then I'll be able to build the base up. I think probably my plan is, as I've said, this is going to be my horizon line, this line down here. What I'm then going to have is I'm going to work from here up. So I'll leave the sea to be done at the same time and after it's been glued down. So I'm going to work on the sky and what have you first now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the sun kind of coming through a haze of cloud, probably relatively high up here. I'll have some clouds. I'm going to make use of sponge technique, and I'm also going to have some 3D clouds coming out away from the backdrop, which will be done using holofill out of a old pillow. And then once I've got that done, I'll be able to put the actual right at the top, I think I'll have the actual missile coming down, and then I think that'll look really, really good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my pencil and I'm going to sketch in roughly where I want things to be, and then when I start to actually use my paints, for example, I've got some bright yellow paint here for the sun, and I've got some white paint here for my clouds, and I will gather together my holofill. I'll bring you along when I start to assemble it and put it together. I would like very much this evening, because I'm a bit behind, I would very much like to have this painted and have the holofill on and be ready to apply the missile tomorrow. That's my plan. So I'm going to get stuck in. So I've sat down and I've done a very, very brief bit of sketching and worked out that the sun is going to kind of like come in here, and then I've left it at that, because I think probably what I need to do really is take my paint and take my holofill. You can see I literally do have an old pillow, and just start sticking things on. So what I think I'll do is I'll put the camera on so that you can watch, put some music on, and I'll just get this done, and hopefully this won't take me very long and it'll look good. Well, we shall see. If it looks rubbish, then I will think again. I'm umming and ahhing a bit about the order in which I'm going to do this, and I've decided to just like go for it, because frankly I'm just going to sit and stare and not make any progress if I keep thinking. I just need to do it. That's one of the things with these timed limited things, you have to crack on. So what I am going to do is I'm going to glue the back on, and then I'm going to work on the front and blend it in and what have you. I think that's the right way to do it. I'm probably not going to use modelling compound. I don't think that's going to be the right tool. But anyway, I'll come to that tomorrow when this has gone off. So I'm going to use gator glue. So run a bead of gator glue along the back here in this little crease that I've created on the shelf, which I can always then trim off if any bleeds. And what I'll do is I will also make use of some dressmaker's pins to secure it. And finally, I have these large clamps that I will use to clamp it in place. So hopefully I'll be able to do this, and it will then be stable enough for the rest of the project. Thank goodness this isn't a playable piece. It is probably the most ridiculous thing I've ever done, I think, this. So let's see whether we can get this to pin in properly. Dressmaker's pins are one of my most used items, I think. Hopefully it's not going to want to lean over too much. I think once it's dried it should be relatively secure, this, but we shall see. So that's pinned. So what we're now going to do, it was getting caught on the things on my bench. What we're now going to do is come in with this clamp and clamp it into place. And I'm going to put a clamp on each side to really make sure it doesn't move. Wait a second. I'm not actually clamping the foam. I'm clamping on the bottom of the shelf. No, that's better. So put a clamp there and a clamp the other side, and then what I'll do is I'll leave this overnight to go off, and then we'll check what it looks like in the morning. It might be that I'm doing my other idea if this doesn't work. There we are. We have clamps, we have it glued. Let's see how that works. So this glued okay to the back, that's all dry, very nicely solid. But what I need to do now is make this a little stronger, a little more reinforced. So I'm going to do a couple of things, I think. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to glue these tongue depressors to the back. So I've come up with this rickety contraption so that it can be flat. And what I'll do is I'll put PVA and I will then use these weights to weight down each of the tongue depressors and make sure it all stays flat and leave that to dry for a couple of hours. So I'll get that done and I'll bring you back and show you whether it's successful or not. As you can see, this is slightly more upright now and is a little bit more rigid, but this contact point here is very, very weak. And so I've ummed and ahed and then hummed again and then ahed again, and finally I've decided that what I am going to go ahead and I am going to use some Luke's modelling compound to do the beach and then also to put some waves in. Now I'm clearly not going to use all of this, but it's very, very hard to mix in small quantities. So what I've decided to do is mix up a normal amount. I will then use what I need here and then take the rest of it out to Rosie's model railway and do a little bit more on that. So it won't go to waste and it will have a benefit of getting this done and also just progressing that a little bit. So I'm going to mix it up and once I've got it mixed up I'll pop the camera on and point it down very, very close so you can see what I'm doing, and we'll try and get this done as best we can. Okay, so the modelling compound is dried and what I have here are 3 3D printed missiles, one of which will end up on this build and 2 of which will go in my bits box. But I'll cover those in another video, I just wanted to quickly show you those. So I think the thing to do now, actually, now that I've done this, is to actually separate this from its from its surrounds, because I don't think it's going to warp now that we've got the Luke's modelling compound on, and it will make it a little easier to work with, particularly if I can manage to cut through this nicely, because I'll be able to then mark the sides with paint and just generally have it a little bit tidier. So I'm going to cut this out now and then I'm going to do the next step. And the next step is going to involve the grout mix, which I use a lot now, and I'm going to do the same technique as I did with the modelling compound. So as it happens, I'm base coating Rosie's model railway. I'm putting down the first coat with the kind of sandy coloured grout, and that's going to work perfectly for the sand on this diorama. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and mix that up once I've got this separated, and then I will come along, I'll show you how I apply it just to the beach area, and then we will and then I'll let that dry, and then we'll have a look at the sea. We're not far off actually on this, and it'd be nice to get this done early rather than late. I did actually have another idea for a diorama entry, which I'm not going to do. I'm going to do this one. That other idea may come out in another build, but I did have another idea today. So there we are. It might need a little bit of weighting down as well. I might need to put that onto a base to make it a bit less wibbly wobbly. But now that that's been separated, what I'm going to do is I'll come along in a minute and I'll just paint some sand grout on that and then leave it to dry. So there we are, that's separated from its base. I'm a little bit concerned about this joint here, it's not very strong. So what I decided to do is I've got some gaffer tape. I love gaffer tape, I was a sound engineer in a previous life. And I'm actually going to come along and wrap it around the back, the bottom and underneath, just to give it a little more strength and hopefully prevent my clumsiness from damaging the thing, which, my clumsiness being what it is highly likely. So I'm going to get that done and then we're going to have a look at the water. as I film this, I see this interesting effect which I hadn't thought of. So what I'm going to actually have to do is probably line the back of this with the gaffer tape just to prevent the light coming through, because that's a bit off-putting. But I'm not going to worry about that for now. I'll do that after this is dried. The next thing I'm going to do is very simply come along with some blue paint, and it's not going to be a very complicated paint job, this. First of all, we're just going to put the blue paint over all of where the sea is, like this. Because water might not be blue, but the sea is when it's calm. When it looks peaceful enough, the sea is blue. So there we are. And when that dries, what I will do is I will look to the horizon and work out how I'm going to do that. Which might involve the same paint, but I'm going to think about it for a few minutes before I start painting that. And then what we'll be able to do is put a nice dry brush, highlight the tops of the waves, and that will look quite nice, I think. So there we are. Doesn't that look peaceful? I'm not too worried about the white towards the front of the towards the waterline, because that's where the surf would be. So yeah, I'll have a think about the backdrop, and what I'll probably do is run some gaffer tape up the back of the upright bit just to block out that light coming through. What we need to do now is finish off this horizon here, and I'm going to do that with some of the blue paint, which I'm also going to put over the water a little bit more where I've missed it, and just going up the horizon slightly and not worrying too much about being neat on this, just to give the impression that maybe the water continues up there. And then what I've got is I've got some white, which I need to wet my brush. That's better. Totally dry brush, not what you want. And then I'm just going to come in with some wisps of cloud, because what you'll notice is that generally there are wispier clouds and what like this lower down on the horizon. Now, I'm no artist, as you can probably tell, so all I'm trying to do here is give the impression, and it will be good enough. And then what we can do is I'm going to come along and put the white on the waves as well, so I may as well while I'm here, because the next thing that's going to be done is going to be doing the beach stuff. So I'll keep working on those waves. I've got a little bit too much wet blue paint at the back to really do it properly there, but we can put some waves coming in like that. There we are, that's looking quite nice. What I'm going to do now, next up, is going to be work on the beach towels and the beach umbrellas. Now, I was going to use pins, which I might still use. I'm going to have a play around, and I'll put a couple of towels down. And downstairs even, right now at my painting desk, I've primed the missals, and I'm going to go and finish painting them, and I'll show you what I've done when I've done that. So I'm going to do that now, straight after filming this. It's now Wednesday. I want to have to finish in the next day or so, so I better crack on, hadn't I? And so we come to the missals. So I printed a couple of missals. I will link to the thingy, or the My Mini Factory, or whatever it is, the file, in the description below. Are really, really cool. They printed out really well. I've actually lost one. I printed 4, but this was the one that I was almost kind of going to use. As you can see, I've painted it silver with a red tip. And what I have in this little pot here is a transfer, which I'm going to put on. I'm not going to film it because it's going to be fiddly, but it is basically a radioactive sign. Now, it's massively oversized, but this is kind of a bit of a comedy kind of thing. It's not trying to be totally to scale. So I'm going to get that put on. I'm going to use Micro Set and Micro Sol to make sure that the transfer sticks correctly. I highly recommend that if you ever do any transfers. Makes it a lot easier. But it's just steeping in some warm water at the moment, just so that it separates from the backing. And when that's done, I will then look at attaching it, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that when I get to it, which will be very soon, because the transfers do set quite quickly. So yeah, I'm going to get on with that, and I'm just thinking about how I'm going to work out the population of the beach. A couple of brollies and some towels. I think that'll do it, and then this project will be done. Very pleased. The missile has its little kind of like warning thing on it, as you can see. So I'll let that dry and then get that attached. So I've just muttered and grumbled to myself and decided that I'm going to go with my initial plan. My initial plan was to use drawing pins, lightly pressed in, not very far, as umbrellas on the beach. And my initial plan was to just do that. And I think that's what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to press these umbrellas in, and I think they're going to look perfect for what I need to do. There we are. And what I'll do is I will think about my surfer dude as well, because I would like to get the surfer dude in. I think that would add a lot of character to this and add that little bit of personality. But I'm not totally sure how I'm going to manage it. So I'll have a think about it. And if I can get the surfer dude, then I will. But if not, then there we are. We have some kind of like beach umbrellas, some umbrellas and parasols over where people can sunbathe, and a nice seaside view. Doesn't that look peaceful enough? Doesn't it just? Lovely. Getting close to the end on this. I've got some more printing that I'm going to get done this evening, which if it comes out will mean that I will have a surfer. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to glue the actual nuts of it, the key of the build, the thing that's driving it all, which is the little this little nuclear bomb. And my idea is what I'm going to do is I was thinking about having it like coming out of the back at a quite a sharp angle. But what I think I'm actually going to do is glue it in like that. So I'm going to do this off camera because it's going to be a bit fiddly. I'm going to make use of initially Luke's OPS's fast dry basing glue, which is like quite a good grip to it, and then I'll probably put some PVA on around it as well once that's dried. So I'll lie the whole kit down and stick it on while it's lying down and let it dry. So that's what I'm going to do, and I'll bring you back when I've got it glued in place so you can see what it looks like. So I'm just going to get that done now. Well, there we are, that's in now. So that's down, a bit of an odd angle to film from. So I'll let that too go off. It will take a little while. It doesn't dry very fast, the basing glue, though it does say fast drying. I've never found it to dry very fast, but it does tack up nice and quick, which means that's not going to fall over, hopefully. So I will bring you back for the next step when I get to it, whatever that will be. Don't know, might be putting a surfer on, might be sorting out some beach towels, might be changing these pins out because I really don't like what they look like, but we shall see. Onwards. What I have here are some baby wipes, and Sigurd, who I did the fantastically fun challenge with where I made the beachfront fortification for Blood and Plunder, top lad, the Weltenbauer Club. Go check him out on Instagram. He is a star and a superb modeller, and he has actually begun his own channel, which is well worth watching. His videos are crazy and awesome and amazing, so go check him out. Anyway, I was wondering how I was going to do beach towels, and he suggested making use of these, so I'm going to. So I have a couple here, and I'm going to dry them out, paint them, and see whether they're going to work. So let's see. Thanks so much for the suggestion, Sigurd. Hugely appreciated, and hopefully I'm thanking you for the success as well. But let's see. Let's give this a try then. This is the one of the baby wipes which I dried overnight, and what I've done is I've actually got some proper hobby paint, and I've got green, blue and red. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the paint and I'm just going to paint it on like this. Just going to see if it works. It's quite a lot of particles coming off of it. Quite a lot of particles coming off it, so I don't know whether this is going to work or not. But I just need to get a couple of these out of the way and put them on the model. So that should be enough, I think. So what I'll do is I'll wash my brush, and I'll come along and I'll do the same thing with the blue and with the red. Let that dry, and then we'll see what it looks like when I cut them up. So I'll bring you along for that stage when I get to it. So these have dried, okay. Yeah, they've dried okay. Stuck through a bit, but that peels off all right. What I've also done is I've gone, and I'll link this in the description below, but I've gone on and found some paper craft beach stuff. So this here is an umbrella, and as it happens, it's printed out a bit weird because I printed it at 10% and it didn't put it all on one page, which surprised me. But here we have a lounger. So what I'm thinking of doing actually is I'm probably going to try to make this lounger out of wood, so out of split up matchsticks, which I'll bring you along for. I'm on the absolute final day of the build, so I don't have much time, so I need to get this done. But I can print this out a couple of times, cut these out, and have a couple of the umbrellas on the beach, have a lounger and have some towels, and that will be absolutely brilliant. The other thing is, which I'm going to be doing today, is here is Tiny Dude Surfing Dude. Now he is actually the larger of the two I printed, but if I'm going to make use of these paper crafts, then I'm going to need to use the larger dude, because otherwise it's going to be out of scale. So I'm going to be attempting to paint him. That will probably be this evening, and I probably won't bring you along for that because it will be very, very fiddly, but I might do. We'll see if I feel confident, but I'm going to try and get him painted, and he is going to be, let me just move the actual piece forwards, he is going to be ripping up on this particular wave here. So I'll need to make a surfboard for him also. So there we are, detailing is coming on, nearly finished. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut these out and have a look at them. I'm going to cut out the papercraft umbrella, try to stick it together and mount that probably just onto a sliver of some wood, and I'll probably do at least one here and maybe one over there, and then when I've cut that out and glued it, I'll bring you and show you how it looks, and then we'll dress the piece and then it's done. So the first one went okay, as you can see here. So what I'm going to do now is show you roughly what I did to get that to work. If I can get this to focus, let me just set that to manual. Hopefully that's a little bit clearer. So what I'm going to do, the way I worked out to do this, is I've got my sharp craft knife and just cut this out with single strokes like that. So we're not trying to get too clever, and we're not trying to cut too much at once. All we're doing is rotate the piece of paper and slice across, and what you'll end up with is the umbrella part, which is all that we care about. So I'm going to use a toothpick or something like that to actually as the support, will be separated from the page. Now I printed this at 10% of its original size over the file, which is you can find in the link below. So there we are. Once you've gone all the way round like that, you can lift the piece out, and there we are. We have the first part of the parasol right now, the umbrella. So what we're then going to do is going to take out these little corner pieces like that. So I'll get that done. There we are. So now we're going to cut out the larger bit, and you do need to make sure to go right to the middle, otherwise it won't fold round correctly. There we are, fiddly but doable. So now what we do, and this is where the filming is going to get particularly difficult, so hopefully I will be able to do this, is I don't fold every single section. Hopefully you'll be able to see this, I'm not sure. I don't fold every single section, but what I do is I fold a couple just to start that process, and I'm using the edge of my knife and just folding like that. So I'll try and get that done, hopefully staying in shot. This was hard enough when I was doing it without trying to film it. Okay, so with just a couple of those folded, that's generally enough. So what we're then going to do is take our super glue and attempt to glue it. And this is where the filming could completely fall apart. So I've got a matchstick, a cocktail stick, which I'll put a little bit of super glue on and use that to apply it. And you will stick this to yourself, but the matchstick will help to there. Okay, and then you fold it, and hopefully it sticks, just like that. And try not to stick it to yourself. There we are. So there we have a umbrella top. So if you want to, you can come in and put some more folds if it's not quite square enough for you. But I'd probably recommend doing that once the super glue is completely dried, which doesn't take too long. But let's just clear that super glue off the side there, which doesn't take too long. But yeah, I'd probably recommend that you leave that. So there we are. I'm only doing 2 of these umbrellas, so that's both of them made. A bit of a fiddly job. The next thing that I've got to do involves the surfer. I have printed out a surfboard shape with a shark on it, which is cool, which probably didn't focus either. And that is going to do my next job. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, let me try that again. I'm going to, it's not going to focus now. Oh, there we are, good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stick this to some cardboard and then put the surfer on it, and then that will go onto the diorama. So yeah, getting close to finished. Okay, right, now for the surfboard. So the plan is to stick a printed surfboard to this card here. Now you can see here, this is the surfer dude who does need painting. I'll paint him up this evening. It might be that I've got the surfboard just a little bit too big at the moment, I think. So I might print that out again, just a little bit smaller. But then what I'll do is I'll cut it out, but not in detail, not close. Stick it to this card, and then when it's completely laminated, then I'll cut it out in detail just using my hobby knife. So that's what I'm going to do. It's going to be a bit fiddly, so I'm not going to film it, but I will probably bring you along for painting a little dude, because hey, why not? So here he is, super tiny dude, and what I'm going to do is just going to come in with the paint and paint him all pink first. And just so you know, what I've done is I've super glued him to a tongue depressor, because holding him would be impossible. So there we are. So now turn him around and hopefully keep him in shot. Yeah. Super teeny tiny dude. Not as impressive as the one that I hand sculpted, obviously. But I just haven't had time really this time around to really focus on things like I have been able to do the dude that I wanted to do, who was riding the bomb down. That's also not happened. Super teeny tiny dude. Right, I'll do a couple of coats like that, and then I'll bring you back when I come to do his shorts, because that's going to be even more impressive. There we are. Some flesh tones. Tiny. Right, tiny dude needs to have some shorts on. So, yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use royal purple, because why not? So, there we are. Teeny tiny shorts. And I will turn him around and do the other side, but not on camera because, well, yeah, I'm never going to keep that in shot and in focus and what have you. But anyway, and then that's done, so we can go and take him upstairs and stick into his surfboard. So here we have 2 surfboards. This one's 20mm, this one's 25mm. And I think I'm actually going to use the 20mm one, because when I put Tiny Dude, who is here, and is very, very difficult to pick up, when I put Tiny Dude on, oh, here's my hands, on the 25mm, he just looks a bit lost. A bit big, so I think he's going to be on the 20mm. So I have some of Luke's fast drying basing glue, which I like because it's got a good bit of tack. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to glue Tiny Dude to this surfboard. There we are. Don't know if he's got good form or not, I'm not a surfer. But I'll let that dry. And then when that's dried, then what we'll do is we'll pop that onto the diorama, and then the diorama will be done. Oh yes. So I did do my little add-on. You can see that we have the sunbathing dude. Now I did print 2 off, but one of them went ping when I tried to clean it up, and it snapped in 2, and I'm not going to be reprinting again. So there we are, that's finished. We can go up, 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 up. What a beautiful calm day, lovely, lovely kind of like, you know, clouds and beautiful, and we can just have a great time at the beach. And oh no, look, there's a nuke. So there you are. As I record this, I don't actually know what the results are for the challenge, as that hasn't yet happened, the live stream, but I had a real good time making this, and it did turn out a lot better than I expected. This was probably my least inspired build. I really wanted to do a shark coming up underneath a boat, and people sailing in it and fishing in it, and a big shark coming up, but I just didn't have any resin, and I wasn't about to try to order something in a panic and then have nothing arrive and then fail again and do a last minute one. So I just went for my second idea, and it did turn out pretty cool. I was very happy with the details of the surfer and the person actually sunbathing. They were the best parts for me, and the sea turned out pretty good as well, I thought. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments below what you think. I'd love to hear from you. I do reply to every single one of those comments. And if you got this far, thank you very, very much. Really appreciate it. And I'll wrap up by saying, as I always do, please stay healthy, stay safe, and stay well.